Join us as we track the development of children from birth to the school gate. The journey from Nought to Five. Nought to Five is the time in our lives when we grow the most we'll ever grow again. All the foundations for our physical, social, cognitive, language and moral development are laid during these years. And whatever happens to us during the laying of these foundations will determine whether we reach our genetic potential as adults. Baby Scarlett was born 12 hours ago to proud parents Kristine and Chris.
When I was driving home, it was dark, there was nobody on the roads, and then when I set off to come back, the roads were packed because everybody's going to work. And it was like I was harbouring my own little secret that I'd just suddenly become a dad and nobody else knew this.
She's so precious and I've got to get this right. Today I think I am getting used to the idea of I'm a mum. I mean, I'm 28, so I'm not exactly that young, but I still had a moment this morning when I was feeling like I was too young to be a mum and to be responsible for someone else.
28 is in fact the median age for women having their first child in New Zealand. 30 years ago, the most common age group for childbearing was 20 to 24. Today, it's 30 to 34. Kristine is a solicitor.
Even though it possibly could have the effect of making a big impact on my career and my future in that direction, I thought it was very important that we make the decision to have children while we're relatively young, because we want to be young parents.
Chris is a hairdresser and 34 years old. He definitely didn't want children, but when Kristine said she wanted to have a baby with him...
I just looked her straight in the face and said, yep, definitely.
Yeah, and then there was no turning back.
Our next visit to Kristine and Chris is with a lactation consultant and midwife.
Tell us how things are going now that Scarlett's 2 weeks old.
I think we're pretty good. It's one of these things that you don't really expect some of the things of what it's actually going to be like to be a parent. For us, it's just learning how to be with her and to fit around what she wants to do. I have to admit I had a wee cry in the middle of the night the other night because she just wouldn't go to sleep and Chris was asleep and I actually ended up waking him up because I felt really lonely and I didn't know what to do and I was just tired. So I had a cry and he settled the baby for me.
So what sort of things have you done to try and get some extra sleep?
Go find Mum. Hey?
A lot of it is just actually trying to, for me, sleep with her. So whenever she goes down, even if it's during the day and it's not, normal for me, but just trying to at least get an hour's sleep. But I'm very lucky having Chris, and if she is unsettled or wakes, he'll, look after her.
Chris is about to start work again, however.
Through myself going back to work next week, starting to now try and keep myself awake throughout the course of the day because I've got now another working platform to apply myself to and I've got to get back into being awake. So it's kind of difficult, but we're balancing it out really well because, I'm trying to fight the tiredness whilst I'm trying to encourage Kristine to go along with it.
Mm.
So how's the feeding going?
It's all very disconcerting at first because it doesn't quite work. Even though there's a breast there and a mouth, you'd expect it to be very simple and just fit together, and it doesn't.
If you wanted to clear a little space for her nose, if you put a little bit of more pressure under there and let her head fall back.
Oh, okay.
We call it the sculling position. That's it. You see, she can actually breathe.
Yeah.
Much easier.
And that's okay for her neck?
Yeah, it's good. It's actually easier to swallow with your head up than it is if you've got your chin on your chest and you swallow. It's much more difficult.
Seeing that I'm actually able to feed my own child, it's pretty amazing. And also having read about the benefits of breast milk for the baby, I would like to continue now, as long as I can possibly, but also keeping in mind that I will return to work at some stage.
The recommendations from the World Health Organization is that we exclusively breastfeed babies for 6 months. And that's just breast milk only. They don't need any water or juice or anything else, just breast milk. And then around 6 months, when they're developmentally ready, is just offering them family foods, just whatever you have in your normal diet that's appropriate for babes.
The ongoing recommendation is to offer babies breast milk until the 2nd year of life to help with protection against infection. Breastfeeding works by supply and demand. The more a baby suckles, the more milk a mother's body produces. There are growth spurts at 2, 4 and 6 weeks, and it can take 2 days and nights for a mother to be able to produce the greater amount required.
How often are you feeding Scarlett at the moment?
At the moment, we're probably feeding every 3.5 to 4 hours. That's because those are the times she seems to be hungry and she's actually waiting for a feed.
Some babies feed every 2 hours, others can go longer.
You might be interested to know there was some research they did in Australia, in Perth, and they looked at women's capacity to store breast milk. And they found that some women could store 150 mils of breast milk in their breasts at one time, and other women could store up to 600 mils. And breast size was not an indicator of storage capacity, which is quite useful to know.
Scarlett feeds often in the evenings, and Kristine worries because her breasts get soft that she doesn't have enough milk. The first milk of a full breast is called foremilk. It's thirst-quenching and low in fat content. Hind milk comes at the end of a feed, when the breast gets soft. It's high in fat content and designed to sustain baby.
What you'll be doing in the evening is feeding really frequently to get lots of that fat-rich hind milk, which will hopefully allow her to sleep overnight.
Oh, look at you.
Coming up next, how to breastfeed and work.
If I have at least one person who loves me and cuddles me a lot and makes me feel safe, I will grow up able to trust other people and I'll be adventurous.
If your friends and family offer to do things for you, things like cooking meals, helping out with the housework, getting some washing done, those sorts of things you just find you don't have time for, and you don't have to be able to cope with everything. It's okay to be able to ask for help.
I'm thinking about returning to work part-time in about 4 months, but I want to make sure that I continue to breastfeed Scarlett, and I think the only way we can really do that is in terms of expressing milk. What's the best way to start doing that?
You might find about a month before you go back to work, if you can get started on maybe some expressing and getting that in the freezer. So you've got some sort of feeds ahead before you actually go back to work on the day. Best time to take milk off is probably in the morning when your breasts are at their fullest after you've fed. So maybe Scarlett's had a morning feed, and when she's settled back down again, try and express some milk. And there's lots of different ways you can do that. You can either do that by hand expressing, and don't underestimate the benefits of that, because some women find it actually really easy to hand express. There's hand pumps you can get. There's pumps called mini electrics, which are sort of power operated, and then we go right up to the amazing pump called a Traveller, which comes in a little black backpack, and you can take it to work and nobody knows actually what's in your backpack. And it's got a little container for the bottles and a slicker pad to keep the milk cold as well.
Breast milk lasts 3 months in the fridge freezer and 6 months in the deep freeze.
If you can get 20 mils off after you've finished feeding her, because remember you are fully breastfeeding her as well, that's really good, but it just adds up. And if you do sort of 20 mils today, 20 mils tomorrow, and so on, you'll find that, you know, it doesn't take long before you've got enough for a feed.
And if Chris is at home with the baby, giving her express breast milk, how much will she need to have?
It varies enormously from one feed to another. Some babies will take 70 mils of feed, and then the next feed they might take 150. So I'd suggest not having bottles full of 150 mils. Maybe smaller volumes, maybe 70, 100 mil bottles, and then Chris can always take a smaller volume out, maybe a 50 mil, if she actually needs more than that. It doesn't take long to thaw, just a little bit of hot water.
The other day I noticed on my breast I had a sort of pinky patch, and it was quite tender and a little bit lumpy feeling. Do you think that could have been at the start of a breast infection?
It sounds like it might have been. The signs are initially a lump and then a tender lump, and then you get that tender lump with that red flushed area on the breast, and then that goes on to those awful flu-like symptoms where you're hot and cold and shivery and feeling quite unwell. We recommend that women, when they're breastfeeding, check their breasts in the shower every day. And if you found a lump, then we would get you to feed baby first on that side and also massage the lump while you're feeding, because that helps drain any blockage away. And it's completely safe for baby. It doesn't affect baby at all. But baby's the best one to drain it. If it's not enough for baby to drain the breast, sometimes we get mums to express after they've breastfed, just to take a little bit more off with a bit of massage. And often I think women can prevent a breast infection if they know what they're looking for.
98% of women can breastfeed. Success comes down to the health of the baby, determination of the breastfeeding mother, and support for her.
Chris, what's it been like for you being a new dad?
You've just got to really prevent yourselves from, or myself, from being really insular and just thinking about my own self. I have to think that, in a sense, you know, at this point in time, Kristine's immensely important to Scarlett and her welfare and her growth. So I have to make sure that Kristine's relaxed and she feels really confident. So little things like, you know, you've never pushed a newborn baby in a buggy before on the streets with public. It's a new entity, and you know, I'll be pushing it along and Kristine will then take over and we'll come to a road and we'll stop for a little while and then we just figure out between the two of us how we're going to accomplish getting across the road. Traffic, are we going to wake her? I'd say we have our moments, but we don't turn to despair. We just turn to each other and we figure it out when we move forwards.
The role of fathers is something Frank Hayes knows a lot about. He runs postnatal fathers groups.
What fathers bring that are special to a relationship with their child, of course, is themselves, and their energy and their enthusiasm and their physicalness and their roughness and their just the essence of who they are, their masculinity.
How are you doing? We lost a shoe.
How mums can support dads is mums can create some space for the dads to become involved, because a big part of fathering is confidence, and fathers need to have that confidence in order to do it. I talk about in groups that, you know, if men want to be good golfers, what do? They play golf, right? If they want to be good fathers, they've got a father, they've got to be there. And they need to take that space and to do that, and mums need to encourage them to take that space and let them do things their way.
Hey, what's that?
There's a theme that mums breastfeed and dads bathe. And it's a really special time for dads to be there, because it's the end of the day, winding down, you know, it's a tactile thing, and it can be a really enjoyable thing for the dad and for the baby. The baby relaxes, you know, dad relaxes, and important that, you know, mum's not there telling him how to do it.
The funny thing is, though, with Chris, is sometimes I have to actually stop myself from putting in a comment, just because I think mums have that natural urge that they know how to do it. And there have been a few times when I've wanted to tell Chris, you know, don't do her nappy that way, or don't talk to her so loudly, you know, I'm trying to get her down. But I think it's just taking that step back and letting Chris be a dad with her.
This is all part of choosing what kind of parent you want to be.
Kia ora, Moira.
Pat Watson is a mother of 3, grandmother of 2, and has worked in early childhood education with Barnardos for 20 years.
Either before or just after the birth of your first child is a really good time to start asking yourself a few leading questions, such as, what sort of a parent do I want to be? And what sort of memories of their childhood do I want this child to have? Here's a situation, for example. You're in the supermarket and your 3-year-old's tugging at your sleeve and whining for lollies, and you say, "Be quiet, stop your nagging and whining, just wait till we get home, I'm sick of you." And your child looks up at you a bit hurt and a bit defiant. You're feeling pretty bad, but you feel justified in your reaction. But the thing you dislike the most is that you really sound like your own mother. What matters most when we're raising children is that we have choices about how we do it. And we call this conscious parenting. Conscious parenting is about being able to choose what we do and what we don't want to do and what we'll do instead. The role of parent is probably the most valuable and challenging job that you'll ever do.
The idea of conscious parenting comes from research done by the Children's Issues Centre at Otago University and parent interviews carried out by the Ministry of Social Development's SKIP program. Strategies with Kids Information for Parents promote 6 fundamental principles of positive parenting, which we'll refer to throughout our series. They are love and warmth, talking and listening, guidance and understanding, limits and boundaries, consistency and consequences, and a structured, secure world. Children need these things to grow up to be happy, capable adults.
If you sing and smile and talk to me, my brain grows really well. I don't need fancy toys to stimulate me. The time you spend with me is much more important.
Gill Connell is a mother of 3, a primary school teacher and co-author of Moving to Learn. She mentors the active movement philosophy developed and promoted by Spark.
Now Scarlett's with us and she's a beautiful baby. We really want to get you understanding that she's not going to break. And right from the very beginning of life, we really need them to be starting to move. She's born with about 100 billion brain cells in her brain.
Yeah.
But they're just isolated little brain cells that aren't connected to other brain cells.
Okay.
So the most important way that she's going to grow pathways that connect these neurons is by moving or encouraging her to move, and also to give her a lot of sensory stimulation. So because you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just playing with the bottom of her foot.
Yeah.
And that's teaching her that she actually has feet.
Okay.
And that because she's getting a sensory message that's being transported back to her brain. And every time I do something like that, that's encouraging pathways to start to develop.
Massage assists with sensory awareness.
What I'm doing just with Scarlett is we're just going to touch her in a quite a firm way, and so that she's learning about the length of her body and that her body has a beginning and an end. And you can see when I'm touching her that I'm actually just moving my hand quite firmly down to her body and extending her so that she feels her length.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you do massage a baby, it's important to actually not take your hands off the baby, but keep your hands constantly on. So otherwise they frighten quite easily.
Yeah.
All babies are born with many primitive reflexes, which help them survive the first few months of life. One of the most important ones at this stage is the palmar reflex.
When she's feeding and how she actually established her sucking reflex is by pulsing her hands like that.
Oh, okay.
So while she's doing that, what that's doing is actually causing this to happen.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And she'll probably...
Mothers can massage the palms of babies' hands quite firmly to strengthen the sucking reflex and assist with breastfeeding. It'll take some time, however, to effect a change.
Being upside down.
Another important area to stimulate from birth onwards is the vestibular system, or our balance.
But you see, I'm supporting her head here.
Okay.
And she's actually used to being in that position.
Oh.
And she's quite happy.
She is actually.
See, I'm supporting her neck.
Yeah.
And I'm holding her under her hips here.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to gently, very slowly, don't want to give her a fright, tip her upside down.
No, she
like
definitely
that.
seems happy doing that.
And well, that's because she's been in that
Yeah.
position for such a long time that it's actually quite normal for
Yeah.
her to be in that position. And so you can do little things like this with her.
Oh.
She's quite happy.
She's very
But you can see how slowly I'm moving
Yeah,
her.
so you're not going to startle
If you do it
her.
fast, she will startle, and also doesn't give the brain time to take in the sensory message.
Yeah.
But she's really enjoying that. Do you like that, Scarlett?
A beach ball is a great investment for baby.
What this is doing is this is giving her fantastic tummy time, which is something that we need to do right from the very beginning as
Yeah.
well. But it's also giving her wonderful vestibular stimulation, and she's just loving
Yeah, no,
the
she's
gentle
very
rocking.
relaxed.
Yeah.
She can be rolled the other way too.
How's that, Scarlett?
So is it a good idea to do something like this every day with her?
Every day, and it's important to actually start right from birth, really.
Okay.
Because we have this perception that they don't look very comfortable when they're on their tummies when they're tiny. So we wait till they're a wee bit older.
Yeah.
But the thing is that their head grows so quickly that that's actually the heaviest part of the body.
Yeah.
So the longer you leave them, the heavier the head is, and the
yeah.
harder it is for them to lift up.
When babies are awake, it's important to spend time on their tummy or side, now that babies are sleeping on their backs and prone to flat heads.
Even lying her under her plagium when she's a little bit older and just lying her on her back like that.
Yeah.
You just roll a little towel up or something underneath there so she's actually wedged on her side. Then you get her lying on that side, and then you can do it on the other side as well. It's also important for eyes to do that as well, because you know, when you're breastfeeding you're changing sides, so you're actually changing which eye she's looking out as well.
Yeah.
So if you're a bottle fed baby, you don't get that. So what we'll just point out is that if you are bottle feeding your baby, it's important that you actually do change sides and do that.
Yeah.
Tummy time is all about getting down on the floor and actually interacting with your baby, not just putting her on the floor and going and hanging out the washing, right? Because some babies will only like tummy time for as little as 10 seconds.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah,
Good.
and that's enough.
And let's just, but while we're down there, let's roll a little ball in front of her eyes, or play with her feet like I was doing before.
And then there's the scooter board.
It's quite nice because once again the baby gets that lovely movement of just gently moving through space. It's all right. And we just lie on her tummy.
Yeah.
Bring her wee hands up there.
Okay.
So she's nice and supported.
Yeah.
And we can just move gently her around. Might have to support her just in case she does a big push.
Yeah.
And she really is enjoying that.
So how has Kristine found this information?
Yeah. I'm just absolutely amazed at how happy she seemed doing all those exercises, and just all the things I actually can do with her, even though she's only 3 weeks old. So it's fantastic.
People are meant to move, and they're meant to move right from the very beginning. So, you know, I think it's just an educational thing, really, learning about the kinds of things we can do with our babies.
Yeah, definitely.
There were times when my baby was very little and I didn't enjoy, but now I think I regret those moments that I didn't, because we should really enjoy every moment, because those moments don't come back.
From the first few weeks to the first few months. Next time we meet babies who are smiling but not yet crawling.